Don Sweeney is licking his lips at what went down today in the goalie trade market. Jacob Markstrom has been traded to the New Jersey Devils for an absolute package heading back to Calgary. What does this mean for Linus Ullmark? And now we have a lot to think about regarding Don Sweeney, what he wants to do, as well as what we might see with Ullmark and what the return could be. So I'm going to talk about all this crazy news that went down here today in this video and how this will affect Ullmark. Before we do, though, we know that 81% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. If you're looking for a spot to get all of your Boston Bruins news, you're in the right spot. Make sure to hit the sub button so you don't miss out on any of the crazy news that we have to bring you over these next coming weeks, because things are already starting to heat up and the season is not even over. But like I said, let's go straight into our first little bit of this one, discussing the Jacob Markstrom trade and how this is very important to what we are going to see involving Linus Ullmark. And I do have another one to talk about here involving the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade in a moment. But like I said, let's get right into this one first just before. And look at this. Calgary receives defenseman Kevin Bahl and a 2025 first-round pick in exchange for Jacob Markstrom. Now, this is a very interesting trade, knowing that the 2025 first could be a pretty half-decent pick. That's the one that is okay in the mind of Calgary fans. You know, you can't go wrong with a first-round pick, but also receiving Kevin Bahl for Jacob Markstrom, who wanted out. And we know Jacob Markstrom is a very good goalie. Few injuries here and there, but his time in Calgary was up. He wanted out, and Calgary has a lot of talent coming up. However, Jacob Markstrom, for a first, many thought he wouldn't even get a first, and Kevin Bahl really is showing that Boston might get more than what they predicted and what we think originally for Linus Ullmark. And I'm willing to say that Linus Ullmark is a better goalie than Jacob Markstrom. Jacob Markstrom, very, very good still. You know, he's a talented goalie. But Linus Ullmark, 2 years off the Vezina Trophy. Not this most recent season, last season, but this most recent season as well. He played incredible. Started off a bit cold, but you know, we didn't expect him to come out the way he did with the Vezina. But then at the end of the season, he completely heated up. And if it wasn't for the way Sweeney performed against the Maple Leafs, he would have been the guy in the playoffs. And that's one thing that we really thought about leading up to that time. But right now, this is going to be a very big time, knowing that what we had seen from Calgary, getting a first-round pick and a very solid defenseman in Kevin Bahl, the Bruins may absolutely fill what they need to in these certain positions. But there's also more than that as well right now. We have that Markstrom trade, but as I said, we also have the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade that went down for Darcy Kuemper, which was 1-for-1, no salary retained for either sides. And this is another one. Darcy Kuemper is a very solid goalie still, once again, now heading to the LA Kings to more suit their needs after Cam Talbot really isn't what they wanted, and getting rid of that Pierre-Luc Dubois contract. But Pierre-Luc Dubois, even though his contract is very, very high, he's not the best player in the world. Pierre-Luc Dubois still has, I think, that a very high amount of potential in the NHL. You know, I really think it's a matter of him finding the right spot, needing to find the right teammates, and he will work perfectly fine. You know, it's definitely a hefty price, but to get a Pierre-Luc Dubois, a player like him, or him alone, you know, in this situation, in exchange for a goalie like Darcy Kuemper, who is not as good as Jacob Markstrom and Linus Ullmark, still very good, but not up to that level of an elite NHL goalie, the market seems to be heating up, and we know that when the market starts to get rid of these goalies, we've already lost 2 today in a matter of hours, the demand is going to be higher. So right now, we know there are a few teams that are going to be still in the market for one. New Jersey is out. LA is out. 2 of the teams that were, I would say, most highly regarded to attempt to get Linus Ullmark. And where does this leave us now? There's still a lot of other teams that are going to be looking for a goalie, and knowing that they're going to have to outbid each other to get a Linus Ullmark, the best available goalie, things are looking very good for the Boston Bruins. And that's what I'm going to talk about here now. What is going to happen? This is the whole market revealed. What are we going to see? How are we going to see it coming from this standpoint of a whole situation with Linus Ullmark? Where is he going to go? If he gets traded, of course. That's the big if. It's not going to happen yet. We still know there's lots and lots of time, but this is going to be a very big one. So I'll pull up this one right now, kind of discussing what we had seen here in the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade and how this Linus Ullmark thing probably could have happened. It comes from Joe Haggerty. I'm old enough to remember when he was excited to be traded to the LA Kings. I wonder if that return from LA is supposed to be the Bruins Kings deal that Linus Ullmark nixed at the trade deadline. If so, Ullmark did the Bruins a major favor, avoiding a guy that's been an issue at every NHL stop. And we know that's the problem with Pierre-Luc Dubois. He hasn't really found that spot, like I said, but being able to have that offer there, him declining it, and I would also say the Bruins declining it, there's going to be more value coming back to the Boston Bruins, especially now, like I said, with those two goalies gone out of the market. And we're going to see some big things coming, I think. I really do, and I'm a firm believer in this. And this is what we have to look at right now regarding teams. This comes from Jim Murphy on Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it. You know the difference. When it comes to Linus Ullmark and where he can be traded to now, I keep an eye on the Colorado Avalanche, Utah, the Carolina Hurricanes, the Detroit Red Wings, the Ottawa Senators, and most recently revealed, not here in this one, but in some other reports, the Buffalo Sabres once again trying to get their star goalie back. So we're seeing a lot of teams here now going after some of the elite talent. And I'll pull the screenshot up once again just to kind of give a little look. Colorado Avalanche, the Carolina Hurricanes, and I would also be willing to put the Detroit Red Wings in this one, are all playoff teams that are going to be looking for that elite goalie to get them there now. We know that Linus Ullmark only has 1 year left on his deal going into next season, giving the Bruins the opportunity to retain some salary, although they might and likely won't do that. But also find some players that will help them now in an effort to be able to help out their team as well as helping out whatever team he ends up going to. So we know the Red Wings have Sebastian Cossa, still not NHL ready yet, I would say, but the Hurricanes and the Avalanche need an elite goalie. If they have an elite goalie, those two teams will be quite unstoppable, if I'm going to be honest with you, although the Boston Bruins could easily beat both those teams. And we're going to have to see what the method is, the method to the madness is for these teams to try and go get Ullmark, to see what the bid is. But at least right now, what I'm willing to say, what I'm willing to think, is that we're going to see at least a first-round pick for Ullmark. I would say an NHL-ready player, someone who could, I would say, slot into the top 9 for the Boston Bruins, maybe even top 6, and I would say probably a prospect on top of that. Even though it is 1 year left on this deal, teams are going to be willing to pay that much to try and get Linus Ullmark for that 1 year. Especially a team, like I said, the Carolina Hurricanes, the Colorado Avalanche. I would even say somewhat from the Ottawa Senators and also the Detroit Red Wings. Bit of a different scenario than the Hurricanes and the Avalanche, but we're going to be seeing a lot more than we initially thought, which is the really big thing that we've seen today. And even more trades are going to go down, I would say, before the Linus Ullmark one. And we'll even get a better idea then of what we're going to see in this whole situation regarding Linus Ullmark. Don Sweeney had this to say as well. I disagree, and this was about the goaltending market and the goaltending value lowering throughout this offseason. He said, I disagree. I think that goaltenders trade hands in one draft scenario. I think one went for 9 overall 1 year. So it's really what teams need and what the market will bear. And ultimately, it comes down to supply and demand. What a team wants and what you might have to. Ultimately, that generally shapes the trade market, which is exactly kind of the narrative that I just tried to explain. I probably could have pulled this up first to give you a better explanation, but even Don Sweeney has kind of put this out there, put this in the world that their team's going to need a goalie, and they're going to have the outbid, and they're going to be willing to pay to get their need, especially a goalie who exceeds the expectations of what they could get elsewhere. So, like I said, a lot of things going down. We know the Ullmark value right now. We know what the general idea of it will be, and now it's just a matter of time until we find a trade partner. So I'll be keeping you up to date with all of this Ullmark news. You're going to have to make sure to hit the sub button, though, because that's the way we're going to find out. Keep you guys updated, but it also does mean the world to me. You're almost at 3K, so if we could hit that, that would be awesome. But I'm signing out. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.